For 3 centuries, the Valerian Empire believed that advanced species communicated through neural links and quantum entanglement. We thought vocal communication was primitive, inefficient, meaningless. That belief shattered the day Commander Zerathik abandoned her post, her rank, and her entire species because a human male said 5 words to her. "I'll always find you, Zera. My name is High Inquisitor Malkorath, and I was tasked with understanding why our most decorated military commander committed what we considered the greatest act of treason in Valerian history. What I discovered changed everything we thought we knew about communication, connection, and what it means to truly hear another being." The incident began in Sector 7, during the Terran integration protocols. We had just welcomed Earth into the Galactic Concordance, and human soldiers were being assigned to mixed species units for the first time. Commander Zerathik, a veteran of 40 campaigns, was selected to lead one such unit. Her telepathic abilities were unmatched. She could coordinate entire battalions without speaking a single word. To her, human vocal speech seemed like watching someone communicate with smoke signals when they had access to fiber optics. What human trait do you think aliens would misunderstand the most? Let me know in the comments below. The human assigned to her squad was Sergeant David Martinez, a communications specialist from Earth's North American continent. Our psychological profiles indicated he was unremarkable. Average combat scores, standard intelligence metrics, nothing to distinguish him from millions of other humans. Commander Zerathik barely acknowledged his existence during the first rotation. She communicated orders telepathically to the rest of the squad and simply assumed he would follow along or fail. Humans, after all, were the only concordant species that couldn't receive telepathic signals. A biological deficiency, we thought. But David did something that confused her. Every morning, when the squad assembled, he would speak to her, out loud, with his voice. "Good morning, Commander," he would say. "Weather control says it's going to be clear today. Should be good for drills." She didn't respond. She didn't understand why he bothered. Her helmet's translator converted his sounds into data, but the act itself seemed pointless. Why waste air and time when a shared thought could convey the same information in microseconds? Then came the training accident on Kirin 4. An equipment malfunction during a zero-gravity combat simulation. Commander Zerathik's suit suffered a catastrophic failure. Her neural link was severed by an electromagnetic pulse, and she was thrown into a debris field 3 kilometers from the training vessel. No telepathic contact. No quantum entanglement. For the first time in her life, she was completely alone in her mind. Silent. Drowning in silence. The rescue protocols were clear. In neural blackout scenarios, the affected individual was to activate their emergency beacon and wait for triangulation. Recovery time, 18 to 20 minutes. For a Valerian, those minutes in absolute mental isolation were psychologically devastating. Our species had evolved in constant telepathic contact. Solitude wasn't just uncomfortable. It was a form of sensory deprivation that could cause permanent psychological damage. But then, through the static and debris, she heard something. A voice? Not in her mind. In her ears. Through her helmet's external audio receiver. "Zera. Zera, can you hear me? It's David. I need you to breathe with me, okay? In for 4 counts. Listen to my voice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. She didn't understand what was happening. The voice wasn't transmitting data. It wasn't conveying tactical information. It was just sound, rhythm, pattern. But something about it cut through the drowning silence. She found herself synchronizing her breathing to the cadence of his words. "That's it, Commander. You're doing great. I'm coming to get you. I need you to stay with me. Talk to me about something. Anything. Tell me about Valoria. What's it like?" She tried to respond telepathically out of instinct, forgetting her neural link was dead. Nothing. Only silence answered. Panic began rising again. But then his voice came back, patient, steady, like a rope thrown to someone drowning. "It's okay. I can't hear your thoughts, but I can hear your breathing. I know you're scared. I know being cut off from your people feels like dying. But you're not alone. I'm right here. I'm not leaving you." For 17 minutes, as he maneuvered through the debris field in a rescue pod, David Martinez spoke to her. He told her about Earth, about his sister who taught music to children, about the first time he saw snow, about absolutely nothing of tactical value. And Commander Zerathik, a warrior who had faced enemy fire without flinching, clung to the sound of his voice like it was the only thing keeping her tethered to reality. When he finally reached her and pulled her into the rescue pod, she saw his face through their helmet visors. He was smiling. "Told you I'd find you, Zera," he said. Something happened in that moment that we Valorians couldn't measure on any of our instruments. Later, human xenopsychologists would try to explain it with words like imprinting and trust bonding and trauma response attachment, but those were just labels for something we had never experienced. The humans called it connection. After her recovery, Commander Zerathik began doing something unprecedented. She started learning to speak. Not just activate her translator, but actually produce vocal sounds. She would practice with David for hours, struggling with the strange mechanics of pushing air through her throat to create vibrations. To the rest of us, it seemed like a pointless exercise. Why learn an inferior communication method? But I watched recordings of their training sessions, and I began to understand. When David spoke to her, he wasn't just transmitting information. Humans encoded something else in their voices. Emotion, and then care. Things that our telepathy, for all its efficiency, sometimes failed to capture because they weren't logical thoughts but rather feelings that existed beneath conscious awareness. "You're getting better, Zera," David would say, and there was something in the tone, the warmth, that made it more than just an assessment of skill progress. It was encouragement. It was pride. It was personal. "Why do you talk to me so much?" she asked him once, her voice still rough and uncertain. "It is inefficient. You know, I can read text faster than you can speak." He was quiet for a moment. "Because when I talk to you, I know you're really listening. Not just downloading information. Actually hearing me. My voice. Me. And when you talk back, even though it's hard for you, I know you're choosing to share something with me. That means something." The crisis came 6 months later. Commander Zerathik received orders for a deep space assignment. 3 years, minimum. No human-compatible vessels. No mixed species crews. A return to pure Valerian military doctrine. Standard protocol. The Empire needed her expertise. She requested a transfer denial. Unprecedented. Her commanding officers were baffled. I was called in to investigate. "Commander," I asked her, "why would you refuse one of the most prestigious assignments in the fleet?" She looked at me with those large, dark eyes that could see in spectrums I couldn't imagine. "Because I cannot leave him," she said simply. "Cannot or will not?" I pressed. "High Inquisitor, your language has 2 words. My language has 1. They are the same. I cannot leave David because I will not leave David. He is my home." I thought she had lost her mind. "Commander, David Martinez is not a location. He is not a structure. He is a being from a Class 5 planet that you have known for less than 1 standard cycle. This attachment is irrational." "Yes," she agreed. "It is completely irrational. I have tried to logic my way out of it. I cannot. When I am in the silence, I hear his voice. When I am afraid, I remember him saying he would find me. He promised that he always would. And I believe him. I believe him more than I believe quantum mathematics. More than I believe neural protocols. I believe his voice when he speaks to me, and that belief is the most real thing I have ever known." I reported her unfit for duty. Recommended psychological reconditioning. But before the order could be processed, something remarkable happened. David Martinez submitted a formal request to the Concordance. He asked to be assigned to any vessel, any station, anywhere Commander Zerathik was being deployed. He volunteered to learn Valerian customs, undergo neural enhancement surgery to attempt telepathic compatibility, whatever it took. When I interviewed him, I asked why he would sacrifice his career, his potential, his connections to other humans, for an alien he had known for mere months. He looked confused by the question. "Because I told her I'd always find her," he said, as if this explained everything. "And she told me that I'm her home. I don't know if you understand what that means, Inquisitor. Home isn't where you're from. It's where you're understood. Where you can be silent or loud and both are okay. Where someone knows your voice in the dark. Zera knows my voice. I know hers. That's not something you walk away from. Not for any assignment. Not for any rank. I sent my report to the High Council. I told them that we had fundamentally misunderstood human communication. We thought their vocal speech was just inferior telepathy. We were wrong. When humans speak to each other, when they truly speak, they're not just exchanging data. They're offering pieces of themselves. Their voice carries their presence, their attention, their care. And when a human says, "I'll always find you," they mean it as an unbreakable promise that transcends logic or probability. The council debated for weeks. In the end, they did something unprecedented. They created a new protocol. Mixed species bonded pairs. Partners who had demonstrated what the humans called deep connection would no longer be separated by standard assignment protocols. It started as an exception for Commanders Zarathic and Sergeant Martinez. Within 2 years, it became standard policy across the Concordance. I saw them last month. They served together on the Border Patrol cruiser Steadfast, protecting Concordance space from pirate incursions. I watched Commander Zarathic brief her squad telepathically, coordinating complex tactical maneuvers across multiple vessels. And then I watched her turn to David and ask, out loud, with her voice that still carried that rough, unpracticed quality, "How was that? Did I miss anything?" And he smiled at her and said, "You were perfect, Zara. Just like always." The efficiency gained from her question was zero. The tactical value was non-existent. But the look in her eyes when he spoke those words, that was everything. We Valorians had mastered telepathy, quantum communication, instantaneous data transfer across parsecs. But we had never learned what it meant to truly hear another being. Not until we listened to the humans, who had been doing it all along with nothing but air and intention, and the simple revolutionary act of speaking to someone because they mattered. Commander Zarathic didn't follow David across worlds because she was weak or irrational. She followed him because he had shown her something we thought was impossible. That a voice, just a voice, could cut through any distance, any silence, any isolation, and say, "You are not alone. I am here. You are my home, and I am yours." If you believe that connection transcends species, technology, and all the logic in the universe, hit that subscribe button and join us as we explore more stories of humanity's place among the stars. Because we're just beginning to understand what makes them truly extraordinary.